unless you heard something.
All right, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at 4:30. First up, approval of the minutes. Notice sent out. Everyone had a chance to look at those.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, treasurer's report.
Yes. So I think I mentioned that I've been talking to the auditor about getting the final numbers for our audit and getting that all prepared for you. It'll be at the next meeting that I'll have those ready for you guys. And then the numbers here, there are a couple of things I might draw your attention to. One is other employee benefits, account number 6060. That is just an additional benefit we give to employees. We talked to, at our department head meeting on last Wednesday at the county level, all of our insurance premiums, everything's just increasing in cost by large margins, and I don't know what will happen with our insurance and our benefits next year, but I have every indication that they're going to increase and that we'll probably have to look for or ask for more money to fund those things. But as you can see already in our other employee benefits, that line is already a little bit high. And then, there wasn't, periodicals. That one is because all of our magazines, that's 50 to 10, GL count 50 to 10, all of those are done at the same time. So we renewed them all at once. So it looks like we spent, we did. Basically, we spent most of our money at one time for that line item. But if there's anything else you see, let me know. I think everything else is tracking pretty much on par. Software is very expensive. I heard some murmurings about software. That also goes up every single year. We have to pay more for the software that runs the library, that runs our accounting software, all those things.
I know that I see the employee benefits costing more and more everywhere I go.
Mm-hmm.
That's just an unfortunate cost right now in society, and have to absorb that as best we can. I'm convinced for first to treasurer.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, so we're into time for public comment. So during this time,
Yes.
so everyone that would like to speak, if you'll please, you have 3 minutes. So we'll be keeping time for that. So please make sure that you adhere to that, and we won't have that. There won't be any sort of rebuttal or anything at this point. But everyone will have 3 minutes to express themselves. We also ask that you would please provide your name, your first and last name, and spell that, just so we can keep accurate records for today's meeting. So if you all would do that, that would be great. So we'll just start on this side of the room, and we'll just kind of work our way around. Okay? So we'll just start here. No? And over here. All right.
I'm Bobby Quintana, and what else do you want me to say?
How do you spell?
Oh, Quintana. And the reason I'm down here again, I've been here before, is because I feel we have to stand up for our intellectual freedom, academic freedoms, all of these freedoms that some people might think, well, that's not being threatened. But there's that thing about the camel getting his nose under the tent. Pretty soon the whole camel is in the tent, So we have to speak up now. And so I'm kind of I saw this movie, Nuremberg Saturday, and it just brought back to my mind, reminding that Hitler didn't start with camps. He started with making Germany great again, banning books, targeting the press, blaming immigrants, cheating, creating enemies from neighbors, defunding the arts, stoking fear of outsiders, and demonizing educators. We've seen this movie before. This movie, it's not a good movie. Don't want to see it again. This is the time to stand up for, every time I say, well, it's just the library, they just want to put the book. I think we have to stand up for every little bit now because I see it fading away. I'm a veteran. I thought I could talk a little more today because it's Veterans Day. I'm not a combat vet, but I'm 88 years old and I have seen the end of that movie. And so that's why I'm here, to stand up for our intellectual and freedoms. Thank you.
I'm Pam Copenhaver, Copenhaver. Is that all you need? I'm going to read a passage from my Message Bible. And I'm not going to read, I'm just going to read the part that pertains to this meeting today. I remember when Peter was persecuted and taken because he was telling the story of Jesus and how the Jews were responsible for his death. Okay, I'm going to start with, this is chapter 5, verse 27. Bringing them back, they stood them before the high council. The chief priest said, "Didn't we give you strict orders not to teach in Jesus' name? And here you have filled Jerusalem with your teaching and are trying your best to blame us for the death of this man." Peter and the apostles answered, "It's necessary to obey God rather than men. The God of our ancestors raised up Jesus, the one you killed by hanging him on a cross. God set him on high at his side, Prince and Savior, to give Israel the gift of a changed life and sins forgiven. A new thing. And we are witnesses to these things. The Holy Spirit, whom God gives to those who obey him, collaborates every detail." When they heard that, they were furious and wanted to kill them on the spot. But one of the council members stood up, a Pharisee by the name of Gamaliel, a teacher of God's law, who was honored by everyone. He ordered the men taken out of the room for a short time and then said, "Fellow Israelites, be careful what you do to these men. Not long ago, Thebus made something of a splash, claiming to be somebody, and got about 400 men to join him. He was killed, his followers dispersed, and nothing came of it. A little later, at the time of the census, Judas the Galilean appeared and acquired a following. He also fizzled out, and the people following him were scattered to the four winds. So I am telling you, hands off these men. Let them alone. If this program or this work is merely human, it will fall apart. But if it is of God, there is nothing you can do about it. And you better not be found fighting against God." I'm here to tell you that this is of God. Our freedom to have the books in the library that we want read.
My name is Sarah, S-A-R-A, Ruska, K-R-U-S-Z, as in zero, K-A. I don't know how to follow that. I want to talk about the importance of the library. We have a food crisis right now in this country with the government being what it is. And I'm not here to blame right or left. I'm here to say that in this time where people are going hungry and they're not getting their full benefits, and we're worried about kids, the library stepped up And you can go, you can contribute a gift card, and that can get to a family for a grocery store around here. The library's done meals for homeless at Thanksgiving. There's always seed libraries, so you can grow your own food. In the context of our city, this is, as the library likes to put on social media, the most important place in town. It is not just books, it's community. When I came here in 2007, this was one of the first places I came, and started meeting people because of book clubs and organizations. We talk about books and we talk about what's good and what's bad, and I really feel like context is important there too. A book allows people to explore different ideas, and it does so in the safety of the story. The story can take you on a journey, and it has a point. A lot of the stuff that gets mentioned in book bans, whether it's sex or if it's religion or sexuality, those are things that people have questions about, and they want to explore, and they're going to learn about it one way or the other. But books provide a safe context for that. Stories, fictional stories, provide a safe context for someone to explore an idea. Just read from the Bible. The Bible is one of the most explicit books out there. It's violent, there's sex, there's prostitutes, there's a man offering his daughters up for gang rape. I mean, if you just listen to a verse or two from the Bible, you could say it's a terrible book. But it's really the story of a chosen people and of a redeeming law. So context and anything we're looking at is important. And if you don't have the whole picture, you miss something.
I'll go ahead and say something. Well, compared to,
You can
but,
say your name.
oh,
Sorry.
Ali Baji, A-L-I, last name B-A-G-C-I. And I wasn't really going to say anything, but I felt that I should. I think there's a difference in a book ban versus ensuring that books are placed appropriately and age-appropriate material too. I think often when you put books that have certain situations, I don't think it's necessarily harmless to allow somebody to escape into a story and explore certain things in the context of the story. I think often these can be adult situations, and they need to be addressed between a child and that child's parent or guardian. And that's the more appropriate place for it, because what you're doing is you are actually violating the rights of the parent if you're able to expose the child to this material without your will, simply because something's miscategorized. It's just like putting laced candy out on the floor for a child to just have access to, and they can open the wrapper, and next thing you know, they're exposed to whatever. So I think that labeling something a book ban is mischaracterization. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, my name is Sam Sandlin, and I'm a county commissioner. And I didn't come to speak either, but I will say this. I was here 2 months ago, whenever it was, that we had a meeting, and Mr. Wayne Neighbors was here, and they asked him, since he was a public official, they asked him if he wanted to speak. He kind of deferred, and then he spoke at the end, and what he basically said was this discussion about children having access to pornography at an early age is, it's a problem. It's a thing that parents and children ought to handle and all of that. But the fact that it is open is an indictment of our society. If you've got a computer, you can read or watch anything you want. And phones are computers. If you have a phone or have access to a phone, then you can read or watch anything you want. And I talked to Luke after that last meeting, and he told me about having restrictions on his children and their computer use and blocking certain things. And he told me about he didn't give them phones when they were young, a certain age, and that's wonderful, that's excellent. But the thing about, say Luke's got a son, Luke's son may not have a phone, but little Billy does, his best friend, when he goes to Billy's house, when he sits on the school bus. And the other commissioner from my district is Mr. Chaffin. And Chaffin runs the school bus routing thing for the Putnam County school system. And I thought about it, I called Chaffin and said, you know, do y'all ever have any problems with phones and pornography? He said every week we have, you know, little Joey's got a phone back there, he calls up some porn, he gets 3 or 4 people looking until it becomes a distraction, and then the driver, etc. But it's a constant problem. Anywhere there are computers and phones are everywhere. So the fact that, if my understanding was these books, they're in an area that between 12 and 18 can look at them. You know, when does puberty happen? When do people need to look at books for people between 12 and 18? I would think it's when they're between 12 and 18. I just don't. It's an indictment of our society, and we all, as parents, try to do as good as we can do. As people, we all try to do as good as we can do. But you can't legislate the society norm. So that's all I'm going to say. Other than thank you for your time.
Jill Hunter, I just want to piggyback on your comment. I've updated on some things ago. And I also think it's sort of normal behavior, maybe not good behavior for somebody on a school bus to show their friends something on their phone. That's not good. But in a library, I sort of think we'd be at a different level. And I kind of feel like we would be protective of our children and their innocence, and that would be a core value. And for those of you who have served our country, thank you for your service. I've family members who served in the military. I'm thankful for them. I don't think they fought or served so that children could have access to pornography. I think that's beyond the First Amendment. And I think we have a moral responsibility as a community, as an institution that's taxpayer funded in the community, to protect the interests of children. That's the only reason I'm here, y'all. I don't want to ban books. I'd rather be somewhere else. And I know most of y'all would too. But, you know, there's a standard of decency that we have to defend. And it's for children. And there have been things that children didn't need to see in this library. There still are. So you guys get rid of the stuff or put it where it needs to be age appropriate, and I'll quit coming. But as long as it's here for anybody, any child, any age to access freely, then I think, you know, we need to do something about it. Thank you.
Barbara Reynolds, REYNOLDS. I'd like to build on what Sam said. How many of you have read this book, The Anxious Generation? How many of you know that between May and August, this book has sold maybe 1,000 copies, and there are groups meeting everywhere, in the library, Aldridge School, other schools, churches, and they're meeting to discuss this a couple chapters at a time. It's called a book study, Restoring Children, Restoring Childhood in Putnam Community Initiative. And the hope is it will get people off their smartphones. Now, the school has done a good job of that, but I think that's where our energy should be, not banning books in the library or even talking about that. The issue is smartphones. In 2010, 70% of the teenagers had a smartphone. The Pew Research Group had done a study before and after about the amount of mental illness, suicide, and depression that occurred after smartphones. It's the Generation Z that has been caught up in the smartphones. And so this book talks a lot about what's happening, and lots of people have been reading this, and all of you should be reading it. And it gives the issues that are occurring, but then it gives strategies. And the strategy is to start kids on smartphones much later in life and not give them very early. And there's certain strategies here for time periods. But what I'm thinking about is if Johnny has a phone and Susie doesn't, then that's an issue. But if every family member takes on the same strategies and doesn't give the smartphones to their kids until later, then everybody is in agreement on this. That's where I think our issue should be. And if you've not read this book, The Anxious Generation, you need to get it. It's at the bookstore. The library has groups going here. The groups are going on until December. And they take a chapter at a time, and then parents and families get together and discuss it. And if families could get together and make a decision to not give the smartphones or screen time to their kids, not have them have limited meals, that means parents can't either. You know? And part of the problem with a smartphone is you start looking at one and you get changing to talk to this, and you get into all sorts of platforms that you might not want to get into. But anyway, I think all of you probably could read this.
Hi, my name is Lettie Collier, Lettie Collier. I did speak last time, and I'm here to pretty much say the same thing again. I also want to point out that I have 2 children. At one point they were small. They weren't driving themselves here because they didn't know how to drive themselves here. We did come every week. And I'm pretty positive that every book they picked off the shelf, I looked at to decide if it was good for them or not. Me, the grown-up. I didn't ask the library to do that. But I did prepare some notes because I don't want to forget what I want to say. So libraries exist to serve everyone, not those who just share a particular viewpoint. What one person finds objectionable may be exactly what another person needs to read, learn from, or feel seen by. If you don't want to read a certain book, the solution is simple: don't read it. But that choice should remain yours alone. It should never take that book away from someone else. It is the library's role to censor. It's not the library's role to censor or restrict access or move books to other areas. It's the role of parents to guide their own children, just as they do with everything else, TV, movies, and the internet. Our library's responsibility is to provide access, not to limit it, and I think they're doing a great job. The freedom to read is part of what makes our communities and our country strong. Once we start narrowing whose stories are allowed to be told, we all lose something. So I just would like to say, keep doing the same thing you're already doing and letting us read the books that are here in the way we want to.
Well, like always, I was not going to speak, but I am now. My name is Connie Bellamy, CONNIEBELLAMY. And the anxious generation is something that's going on in our county for children. And the anxious generation are groups of parents, grandparents meeting to discuss and talk about keeping that from their children so they can have childhood rather than the adults who quit. That's part of the reason we do not want porn in the children's section for young adults. One of the reasons being they are minors. And so certainly if their parent wants them to have access to that, fine. But as citizens, I know so many people who do not want to foot the bill so that children can, in our public library, access porn. And it's nothing to do with banning books or adults or who you prefer to have sex with. It truly is about children and not giving them things even such as that to be concerned with if we do not want them to be an anxious generation and be able to be children and grow up and then make their choices. For me, when I get into the refiner, just because it's the First Amendment and right to read, so is owning a gun, Second Amendment. But we do not argue to give our children that, or cigarettes, or alcohol. And like you said, they can't drive here to read. So if they can't drive here to read, that's another thing that is restricted for a minor. So there are some rules that even if we don't like those rules, the law has put those in place. And part of that is to protect children. So that's my opposition. Not that banning books, not taking them away from adults, decide who you want to have sex with, whatever. But don't put it in little kids' hands so they can sit there and worry about, am I supposed to have sex with a boy or a girl? I mean, we don't know what we're putting in their heads when they're young and reading those kind of things. That's one reason they're trying to get them off the phone. Is that correct? That's part of this anxious generation. So that's all I have to say.
Hey, David Funk, FUNK. Last Tuesday night, we had Kirk Cameron from Cookville. I don't think everybody knows who Kirk Cameron is. We limited the seating to 1,400 people. In 2 days, we had 1,400 people sign up. We had 870 actually show up. The good thing about it, we got emails from most everybody. So, we're going to be sending emails out letting people know what's in our libraries. There is a great interest in this guy when you have that many people show up. It is. There's a Fifth Circuit Court judgment, and you guys that are lawyers can look it up. It's 92 pages. It says this is not a First Amendment issue. You guys, the board, can remove anything you want at any time. It is not a First Amendment issue. It can be taken out of these libraries. If y'all weren't sitting here today and there was a different board, different director that didn't want these books in our library, they'd be gone. It's y'all's choice. And there's two groups of people after our kids. This group and this group. And I realize we're two separate groups. And we're fighting for our kids. And if we want to bring the Bible into it, the God that I know, He don't make mistakes. So if a boy is born a boy and a girl is born a girl, and we're putting books in our library that says God made a mistake because you're a boy and you should have been a girl. God don't make mistakes. The Jesus I know said there should not even be a hint of sexual perversion in your life. So if we're going to bring the Bible into this, the Bible clearly, it says if you harm our little children, it's better for you to have a millstone tied around your neck and thrown into the water. Now, if you don't believe in God, you don't believe in the Bible, we have nothing to discuss. There's nothing you and I can talk about. But this is pure. There's right here a book in y'all's library for 10-year-olds. Not only words anymore, guys. We got pictures now. We're showing you pictures how to do it. Men and men, women and women, everything. Abortion, how to get an abortion, and it's in the juvenile section. It says 10 years old and up. We're the adults in the room. The thing that shocked me the most the first time, the number of older people here that they're in favor of this stuff. We're supposed to be the protector of our children, and we're condoning it. We're throwing them sexual perversion and all these things. I've been called a fundy, a book banner, now I'm a Pharisee and a Nazi. So I've been called everything, and thank you.
I never called you a Nazi, sir.
You insinuated that's what.
Well, we don't need to have any extra things.
Is there anyone else who wants to talk?
Luke Eldridge, Vice Mayor, Lukeeldridge, I think you know how to spell that. But I will let everybody know, because I know people are concerned, I did get a library card. So, my family has had one, I haven't, but I got one, because I wanted the book he was talking about, it is there, I heard some gas earlier, because it's right here. And it says 2 years and older. And it has those, I just got, I am returning this, I will not be reading this. This will be returned tonight. But that book is the one he just had. She's actually got copies for everybody, and so you can see the photos. That irks me a little bit, but well, I digress. Because that shouldn't be there for our children to see that. And I've got some notes here. We're talking about restoring childhood. This is what we're trying to do. I've got the book. I actually had that book before this even happened, because a psychology degree, I get a lot of books that I read, and I'm concerned about children, and I'm concerned about the families. So I've done that. And regarding what we're trying to do in their minds at a young age, some of these books, this book right here for 10-year-olds and younger, what do you think that's going to do to their minds when they see those photos? It's here. So, and as they get older and they get 13 and they start exploring. So anyway, that book's there. There's some more. My children, you know, as Mr. Sandler was talking about, we homeschool, and there's a reason. We homeschool, and we take great pride in that. My wife was a teacher for 13 years, and we take great pride in homeschooling our children. We're not trying to keep them in a bubble. My kid, we were somewhere, and we were on vacation one time, and we went to one of those shops that has all the T-shirts and you know, has all the souvenirs, and he read a shirt. And I was like, oh crap, I forgot you knew how to read. And it said the B word. And he looked at me and said, Daddy, we don't say that word, do we? I said, no, son, we don't. And that was it. And we moved on. We don't have that kind of language in our home. So I'm not trying to keep my kids in a bubble. I'm just trying to do my God-given right, and what God has told me to do is to protect my children. And I will do that to protect everybody else's children, because the Bible also says, getting the Bible involved, the Bible says we stand in the gap when no one else will. And that's what we're doing. Let's see. And talking about children and having library cards, and you know, you check your children and everything. Like 13, they can have a library card and check out what they want to. You know, so they don't really, is that right? It's not right. I thought you and I thought, okay. I retract that statement. I was wrong. And I'm okay with being wrong. I've been wrong before. But kids, 16, and they have it at 16? 16. So at 16, still under 18, they can check out a book while they can drive here by themselves. October 27th letter. I'm interested to see what you want to do with that. I'm going to return this book. And I've donated, yes ma'am, I've donated 3 books to you from Kurt Cameron. I want to give that to the library. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jack.
Be brief, I'll go ahead and read this. My name's Jacob. I'm writing to append my letter of October the 14th, 2025 to the Putnam County Libraries concerning procedures governing applications, recommendations, and appointments for service to the library board. Since the October 14th board meeting, additional research has been conducted into the matter based upon the October 21st receipt of attachment E, which you don't have in that packet. But it's the joint agreement between Putnam County and the city of Cookeville. And this ELF is the library board training requirements. Attachment E, joint agreement. This attachment defines the full understanding of joint venture between Putnam County and the city of Cookeville concerning Putnam County Libraries. It includes the following provisions: budget funding, makeup of the library board membership, library employees or county employees, and so on. However, the joint agreement is void in presenting transparency on the appointment process for citizens that wish to serve on the library board. The second reference is the library board training requirements. This attachment confirms the training requirements under the direction of Tennessee Secretary of State. Public library trustees, which include trustee workshops. Chairman England advised that the current board members have completed the trustee certification program. And it appears to be a one-day workshop. You skip over the other. Now that on the next page. After reviewing the collection of governing documents, and that's the two preceding letters, applicable to the Putnam County Library Board, the conclusion is a transparent application and appointment process for citizens to serve on the Putnam County Library does not exist. Chairman Ingalls and board members, this is the third appeal bringing this matter before the board. It was hoped that the matter would be addressed and in place for the next open vacancy for the library board. At this point, I request your thoughts and response on the status to this matter. Special thanks to Chairman Ingalls and Mayor Porter for his cooperation and assistance in providing the source of the information and previous information. And thank you for your leadership for transparency, accountability, and service to Putnam County.
Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't going to speak up, so I wrote some things down as I was listening. This is my first library meeting. My name is Dana Siefer, S-I-E-F-K-E-R. I agree that we need to care about the children, just like Barbara talked about that. We started that initiative. We need to return them to a simpler life without technology. Culture needs to care and protect their children. And we can't unsee something. I don't know how many of you have actually seen pictures of pornography. It's popped up in my news feed. It's popped up when I was younger. I still explicitly can see those images in my head, and I forget pictures of my babies when they were young. It's one of those things that our fallen mind can't unsee. It stays there forever. And even movies have reviews. Like, I don't understand why we think that it's okay to have books that have explicit pictures available to children who are young. Porn's not something that you can see once and then just walk away from. It stays, and it causes an addiction. These young kids, it releases dopamine, and then they're addicted to that, and they want to go find more and more and more. It's not something that can just stop. The younger they are, the more susceptible they are to it. Is that really what we want as a society? Adults have the freedom to purchase whatever books they want. Nobody's telling people they can't buy books. Go buy your own books. But we are saying we want to protect our children. Nothing's being banned. This is not Nazi Germany. This is America. We're free to buy and read whatever books we want. But we want to protect our children.
Okay. Kelly Parkinson, Parkison. When Luke mentioned homeschool, it made me want to just pop up and say that Miss Carol Teeters, I had talked about homeschool books at the last meeting, and she and I have been in email contact, and today just emailed those. I don't know if you've seen them yet, just the list of books that just even our current group is looking for. And so I just want to say I appreciate your efforts in listening to what I requested.
Clarissa Williams, or Clarissa Reeves Williams. I wanted to just say, I know a lot of you, some things that many of you don't know about me is early in my career, I was one of President Bill Clinton's first AmeriCorps volunteers, and I worked with a lot of young people. And I'm hearing a lot of people talk about working with youth and being involved with your kids. The kids I worked with, 100% of them were not in a two-family household. They were low income, and the treat that we got to take them to was the public library. I would be horrified if I took those kids to the library thinking I was doing a good thing, because we were kind of the substitute parent for a lot of these kids, because they didn't have anybody to look up to. They didn't have anybody to look out for them. And honestly, we didn't even know where their parents were most of the time. So in those situations, if you can imagine bringing kids from almost like a daycare situation, after school program, bring them in. I don't believe it's the librarian's job to make sure those kids are all supervised, because I don't know how they could. But I do believe that as a responsible adult, we have to be the adult in the room, and we have to say, some of these, I saw the book that Luke was mentioning earlier, and I'm horrified that children would see those pictures, because I did work with kids ages 7 to 17. Many of them, their parents didn't want to go to school. They didn't know where their parents were, and you became their role model. You can't accept kids doing the right thing when they don't know what the right thing is. So when you have to help kids make decisions and you're supposed to just help them, the library should be a unified place where we can all come together and get along and find ways to help each other. I didn't know about the library's seed program, which is really cool. And thank you to those that are here that are veterans that have dedicated service and life. There's so many things that we can come together on, and I think protecting our children should be one of those.
Can I say something? I'm gonna say something. I was gonna speak, but as a librarian, I feel like I'm called to speak. Tanya Samples, T-A-N-Y-A, S-A-M-P-L-E-S. First of all, I want to make a distinction between what you're calling porn and what I would call realistic fiction. It's not porn in a children's library. It's things that kids have questions about, they want to know about, and I think they have a right to learn about things that are happening in their world. When Luke mentioned this book is perfectly normal, I looked it up. This book is a trusted resource on sexuality for more than 25 years. It's been vetted by doctors and experts. It gives a lot of information to kids who are seeking information about what's happening with their bodies and things like that. So it is a very well vetted book. And you all act like there is a lot of distasteful books in this library. I have thousands of books in this library. You're nitpicking and picking out 1 or 2 or 3 books that maybe not be appropriate for our children. That's for you to decide. But it's not for you to decide what I want my children to read. And the library is a public place for everyone. Not everyone can afford to go out and buy books for their children. They rely on the library to provide informational books for their children. And I think it's our responsibility to have those books when children have questions about what's going on in their lives. It's a trusted place. And I think that we need to keep it open like that so that everyone can find what they need to find in the library.
Trenton Strode, T-R-E-N-T-O-N-S-T-R-O-D as in dog. I was taking the time to listen to everybody's viewpoints. I appreciate everybody giving their viewpoints. I'm hearing a lot of subjective data that's coming here, and I'm wanting to say if we're making a decision, we should make an objective decision. I'd like to see if there's a way that the library can pull data for these selected books and see who's checking out these books, what cards they belong to. I think that would help us make an objective decision. I would think if the majority of these books were being checked out by patrons who are younger than 18, then a conversation probably should be had. I think it's justified to have that if the majority of those books are being checked out by younger people than adults. Then I think that's a conversation and a data point that we could reference in order to make a great decision. I'm glad you took the time to read those books that you brought today and to check those books out. I would just not think, in my personal opinion, my subjective opinion, that the majority of the patrons who are under 18 who can check out a library book are selecting those books to check out. And in order to support that claim, we would need objective data to view. So I'd like to throw that out there.
Majority, yeah.
Now I'll throw mine too.
To me, objective means you've had children. Brenda, Martin. To me, objective is if you've had children, or if you've had grandchildren. And a 10-year-old, I think is the age that Lisa's showing, and pictures of sex is what's in that book. That's not exactly what you want to have a 10-year-old, okay? Half of this room is women, and half of you got your periods around 12, 13. So yeah, you're asking questions, but you're not going to go and find a book that has pictures of anybody having sex. My mom didn't do that. She said, we had library cards, but we did not go to the library to find out how to have sex in many ways. That's objective. Okay? Subjective, I was the mom. I was the grandma. And you can see what emotions this does to me. So, first think about not even, the boys are just hitting puberty and they're girls, but you don't give it to them ahead of time and say, this is what you should do. This is what you should see.
Anyone else that we missed? Anyone else over here? All right. All right, old business.
Yes, we were gonna pull that back out because we looked at that last meeting and we talked about a couple of changes and actually what I did was make it match. I need to work on my font size, I see that, so. I created the bullet point that matches our meeting room policy, that exceptions to the policy may be made at the library director or a library director's designee's discretion. Instead of, we had a couple of things about good standing and the definition of good standing, but I felt like it was easier just to make it match our meeting room policy. So that really what happens in our study rooms sometimes is people use it for things that they're not supposed to use it for. I know that's shocking, but they'll go in and bring all their things and sleep and stay all day. And we really like those study rooms to be used for meetings or actual study. So I put that statement in instead of adding other things about good standing, that type of stuff. So I don't know if that meets your. Here, you had a few things that you wanted added to it and changed, and so I just thought matching the meeting room policy might be better than trying to create a definition of good standing.
Yeah, I think
That's
that remains
okay.
consistent. So.
Well, I don't have an issue with policy. I just have a general question about
Sure.
the study room.
Yeah.
I mean, is that really the only issue you've had where people kind of camp out?
No, it's definitely not the only issue, but it's just
The most
one.
prevalent.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the most prevalent. And I understand, it's a nice, quiet place.
And how frequently are they used?
Study rooms every day.
Most of them are continuously.
Not continuously, but someone's in there every day. Yeah, they're used a lot. We have, so one study room is set up with a TV and a monitor, or so you can have a Zoom meeting or some type of Teams meeting. And then the other one just has, what do they call it? Whiteboards. But one of those they're pretty consistently used. I mean, every day someone's in this. But sometimes what happens is people will come and hang out. And so we really like to reserve them for people who use them to study. Is that answer?
Thank you.
You need a
motion to approve?
Yes, we do need a motion to approve.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right.
Extension plan.
Yes. I am so excited. Okay, I had the architect send you these renderings, or send me these renderings today. And they give you a little brief overview. You've got the lower floor and the upper floor. The only thing is it doesn't give you a really great idea of what the actual site will look like. So it's more of the interior view instead of exterior. And I'm actually maybe more excited about our exterior at this point, which I'll explain. So first off, though, the bid process has started. We have a bid open date of November 25 and a date to proceed of December 1st. So really excited about that. It is a tight turnaround, but I will get with the architects probably over Thanksgiving and go over some of those open bids with them so that we are able to proceed with the general contractor December 1. So again, these revised plans where you don't see as much of the site, what I am excited about are the parking lot improvements, which are much needed. They're going to completely redo the parking lot, including curbs and lighting. Also, one of the big problems we have here at the Putnam County Library is just getting people in the building. We have a big accessibility issue. We have a very, very old building. Our elevator, as you all know, is tiny and it's like in the corner of the building. And we just don't have many handicap parking places. And so one of the things I worked with the architects on is for this site is to be much more accessible if you're in a wheelchair or if you're a parent with a stroller or you need any kind of help getting in our building. So the sidewalk, I don't know if you can read it, it says minimally raised sidewalk. It's basically a tabled sidewalk. So it will be a raised sidewalk, which will also help as a buffer to slow people down. People go really fast in our parking lot. And of course, we have kids like shooting out the door, and it always makes me nervous. So we're going to have a lighted, tabled sidewalk that runs the length of the back parking lot and connects with Dogwood Park. So I think it will be fabulous. And we're going to put some lamp posts at the park entrance and also at the library entrance. So it'll be a really beautiful, I think, walkway. And it will also create a nice entry point in this back area for everyone. We also added, you can't see the fourth handicap parking place, again, on either the lower or the main floor, but we added 2 additional handicap parking places here in the back, and then we're going to add 2 more up front, so that we'll have 4 additional handicap parking places, which is excellent. And then you all know that revised main floor plan, there's a big elevator. You can see it there that's going in, which is great. I told them to make it as big as they could. So I think it's going to be wonderful. The lower floor, of course, is all children's, so we're going to be able to expand that children's library, which is a much needed space for us. We're super glad about that. And then the upper floor will work mostly as we're going to have a sort of like a podcast room or a soundproof room, and kind of create some maker space area there. And we're also going to have opportunities for telehealth. So again, back to those study rooms, it's another reason it's kind of important to make sure we have some things in place. We're going to dedicate some portion of time of our study rooms to telehealth for people in our community. So we are excited. It looks great, though. I don't know if you all have any questions. Maybe I can answer them. We're not going to be able, I can't remember if I told you that we are not going to be able to share the parking lot with the city, with the History Museum anymore. Because it was already so expensive. Just the site part was coming in way over budget. And our elevation, I didn't know until I got the elevation map when they sent that to me just how much of a drop there is. We're on a really steep hill. So they said it would just be prohibitively expensive to do that. When we talked to the city, we had a meeting with James Mills and Randy Porter, and we're fine. We're all okay with how it's going to go. It was just so expensive. So we're still adding spaces, and I still think it's going to be a huge benefit with the parking lot and all parts of it.
So it's a net gain in number of parking spaces?
Yes. Yeah, it's still a net gain. It's not quite as many, but only by like 3 or 4. So I think we gained, I want to say 10 spaces total. I can't remember exactly how many, but it is still net gain, yes.
The outdoor space looks great.
I'm so excited, yes.
And your pollinator garden.
Yes, you noticed the pollinator garden. Yep, that's there in the corner. Very excited about that. I think it's going to be really fantastic, and I love the fact that we can connect to the park. I think that's a really nice access point, and also creates a really nice entry for the library, because we have a lot of people who use this back entrance. And we're, of course, going to have some, I've said it the whole time, some growing pains. The electrical engineer was impressed with our electrical grid. He wasn't sure where it came from. Brian got to talk to him a little bit about that. It's really big. He said it was really big, but they did a 2-year study on our utilities and said that it was a huge, it was way too big for this library. So they're going to redo the electrical panel too while they're at it. So it's great. We're going to get some much needed improvements and some extra space in children's and some extra room upstairs as well. So we'll know a lot more at the open date, at the bid open date on the 25th when we find out the general contractor, and I hope to get a really firm timeline by December 1.
I'm really excited about the children's section simply because I think it's going to make it so much safer for our kids, because in the summer when we do the summer reading programs and have guest speakers and everything, that parking lot is a very nerve-wracking
It is.
experience because it's, you know, narrow spaces and lots of people and lots of kids and littles that are little and slower than the cars, and it's kind of hard to see. So I think it's going to really boost the number of people that can utilize all of the library, but really in the summers and for the different events, Carol, that you do for the children's section.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot more space down there. I'm really excited. But yes, the parking lot was my number one concern.
That's so important.
It is. We have people who, I swear, they go to 50 miles an hour in our parking lot. So I was like, we got to put a speed bump in this parking lot.
Some kind of expansion has been something that we've really, really wanted the entire time I've been on this board. I'm really excited that this is finally coming to fruition. I think this is a huge benefit for the future of this library. And really pleased with all the work. You know, I went with you, the architect at the beginning, and was so excited about this project, and I think this is fantastic. So thanks for all your hard work making it a reality.
Well, you're welcome.
Go break ground so we can do
I know. I can't wait. The ground's going to be frozen. So, yes, but again, I will, of course, when the bid open date, when all that happens, I'll send all that information out to you, and we'll know who the general contractor is. Really soon. So, yeah, exciting. Any other questions, though, about the expansion?
You're going to actually plan to try to start on December 1st if the contractor can get it. That's the plan?
That's the plan.
So how long do we think it'll impact people, you know, not being able to use the parking lot that we just don't know yet?
We don't know yet. I'm worried about it, of course, because it's going to be a pain point for us, for sure. But then that's one reason we pulled the city in too, and we're hoping that whatever we do, we can work with the History Museum's parking lot, or even the parking lot across the street, even though I do know how difficult that is for some people. We've already talked internally about doing some curbside service and ways that we can still help people get the books they want and they need, you know, without having to go through across Broad Street.
We did some of that during COVID. We could just try
Exactly. That's right. We're going to dust off those plans and put them right back in. I'm hoping, though, the big thing that will disrupt their service the most is that they have to redo our electrical panels and all that electricity. And so we won't have electricity in the building when they do that. And so I'm hoping that, so of course we can't really be on site for that, but we can work out of Allgood, Baxter, Monterey, and offer some different, unique services and programs in our other locations.
We'll have to actually be closed altogether for some of those groups.
Yes, I'm a little anxious about that. Now, Daryl knows that Daryl's State County Maintenance, and he said he's going to make it as short a time as possible that we actually have to close this physical location. But again, we'll still have Allgood, Baxter, Monterey open during that time.
Well, I know you're great about social media outreach and letting people know so they can make plans for you.
Yes, I'm really excited for this firm timeline.
Yeah, I bet you are. Good luck with getting the contractor and holding them to it.
Yes, I've heard that's going to be an ongoing process. But as soon as I get any kind of timeline, I'll share it with you guys.
Director's report.
Yes, I wanted to, you all have an annual report in front of you, and I know I haven't done it, but I thought, well, this is a nice way to kind of recap 2025 for us. And I thought I would share this with our other community partners. I always have a really difficult time knowing exactly how to show our impact to Putnam County. You all look at our circulation statistics every single meeting, but you know, but sometimes it's good to actually see it, that we have so much value outside of numbers and just circulation statistics. And oftentimes you don't see numbers from programming, for example. And you know we have a robust summer reading program, but maybe you don't know that we do, on average, I can't remember the number, but it's hundreds of programs every single month. 150 every single month across the county. A couple of things I did want to point out to you guys in particular on, so page 4 is just our total circulation numbers, and this would be print, but page 5 was interesting, and I've been doing this circulation composition by format over time, just to look at what digital versus print, and how those trends are moving. And as you all can see, the digital and print circulation are now almost half and half, which is really something we're going to probably have to think about in the future of reading. So up at the top, that line graph shows you print circulation, digital circulation, and then that total, of course, is a combination of both. But the one that was interesting to me is that circulation composition by format over time, where it shows that the digital circulation is just increasing more and more. So that was interesting. And our digital circulation does include reads and hoopla. And then, of course, the budget and spend analysis, you all are also really aware of that. You see it a lot in our budget, because we go over our budget every single month. But I thought it was interesting to see, for example, just the programming and what a small percentage of money we get, but the output for that is just incredible. We serve over 10,000 people annually with a really small programming budget. Not that we need more, obviously. We do a lot with very little. And then I just wanted to highlight some of the programs. 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten is an excellent program that's here in our Cookville Library. We started in August of 2024, so these numbers are pretty much a year, 14 months or so of totals of the amount of children. Over 44,000 books have been read by our pre-kindergarten kids, so we love it when they come in. And then again, the other pages really just highlight some of the things we do. I actually talked to Brandon Smith, he's the EMA director, because I wanted to talk about the fact that we're the only county, city, government building that operates as a tornado shelter. And we had a tornado watch Friday night, as we would, because it was a Friday night. So I was here, open, functioning as a tornado shelter, and we've talked about it, and I know you all know it. But I think that there's just so much value in that one thing that we do. He was going to come tonight to the meeting, but he couldn't come to talk to you all about it. So I told him he'd have to come maybe in January, and you all could ask him questions, and we could talk about, how we operate as a shelter, because I know you have questions. I stopped counting at 10 times we've opened as a shelter. It was 5 or 6 times in 1 week in March. We had a really busy weather March. So anyway, that's one thing that we do that a lot of people don't think about, that we are a shelter for anyone, and who can come and get here if they need it. And then our jail program, I talked to Lieutenant Stennett, who also couldn't come this evening, but he can come and talk to you all about our Books Behind Bars program and how many books we take to the Putnam County, both Juvenile Detention Center and the jail. And Lieutenant Stennett, that's a quote from him, but he said the best part about it, he said, of course it helps the inmates, but what it really does is help the officers, because it keeps them safe, and that it also helps save taxpayer money because then the inmates are involved in reading and they're not tearing up the jail. And he said that it had probably, he said, tens of thousands of dollars you'd save this county by just bringing these books to the jail. And so we're really glad we can do that. He's been a great partner for us. I was unable to even put all the partners we have. We work really closely with the Tennessee Department of Health. They're going to do a program, a dental sealant program here in the summer. We're really excited about that, so that children can get their teeth checked and sealed for free, during the summer program. So we're excited to have them here. We work with them all year long. We work with the Tennessee Department of Human Services, the Child Advocacy Center, Genesis House, the Regional Medical Center. We have so many partners and do so much throughout the county that, again, it was just hard for me to put in a report. But I thought it might be nice for you all to get a kind of snapshot of, here's what we did in 2025. See some of the different stuff. We highlight books all the time that I usually don't collect, or don't collect, but it's hard to highlight being a tornado shelter, but it's really important. And the books behind bars too, and all of our programs. And of course, our programs are, in every single branch. We do those across the county. Yoga is super popular, so I'll put the picture there. Really huge. Our seniors really appreciate those yoga classes, and lots of opportunities for them to connect with people, which is so important for our senior population. So, yeah. So that's it. I just wanted to show you that as kind of a snapshot of what the library did 2025. Any questions or anything like that?
I really think it's fantastic.
Oh, good.
All the outreach that you do and all the different programs that you do, and it's not just about books, it's about the community. So.
Yes. We try and strengthen Putnam County in any way we can.
The 19 outreach libraries.
Yes. I think we're probably at carrying capacity. I talked to our outreach librarian, I said 20 is probably all we can do. So we have 19 different libraries across the county that are either, we call them donation libraries or rotational libraries. So if they're a rotational library, that means that we change out and then check out books just like if they were in the library. If they're a donation library, we collect donations, take them to that spot, and then those books were theirs. So people can keep those books. And we took, some of them, we are senior centers or like the Child Advocacy Center, for example, and then other people have just called us and asked, like, can you create a library here? So we've been able to. We're, again, though, I think 20 is probably all we can get to. Every single month we go to we have a different group that we go to and rotate the books. It's excellent, though. It's great. We try and get books into, places where it's easier for people to access them and they can't hear and they can't get to one of our other branches. So we try and make them as easily accessible as possible.
Well, your outreach certainly seems to be working. I've just noticed in the circulation data. I've seen.
Yeah.
I can't help but note just several year over year increase in circulation. And I couldn't be more pleased to see that.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm excited. I was excited to see that uptick too. We were steadily, we're showing more and more circulation numbers. So it is exciting. So another thing, moving off topic, unless there's anything else about that. There was, I gave you all a letter, and I'm really finding out about so many things in front of me. That was from Trey Hargett about, yes, you got it, okay. About doing the book report for our federal books. And I will say, and you know it, but you see it on our annual report. It's asking about doing kind of a book audit of children, and I'm assuming young adult books, for federal funds, federal and state funding. And federal and state funding for us takes up a very, very small portion of our actual overall funding. And we're in the middle of inventory right now. We're doing our inventory. And so as we do that inventory, we go through a process where we just look at all our circulation data and we look at our numbers and go through our collection and make decisions about books prior to doing inventory. So what we're going to do as a library is just incorporate that process, or incorporate creating this report for you into that process. So we'll have a report for you on our books that you can look at. And again, compared to the rest of our collection, state and federal funding is an extremely small portion of our overall funding. So it's not a super big list, thank goodness. It's we are going to create the list, and I think you said there will be a template.
We'll have that ready this week.
Yeah, so we're going to have a template to go by, so we'll just have all that ready for you. What I do want to say, though, because this won't impact us a whole lot, a third of our state and federal funding goes to technology. Another third of it goes to reads, goes to digital books. And then that last third, I've split it by six different librarians use it. But this will really hurt our rural libraries because they do depend a lot on state and federal funding. And so there's really small libraries that need the money the most, or the ones who are going to really see some problems with this. Like Fentress County and Jackson County and Clay County, I think about those libraries in our region, and I hate it for them. And I'm hoping, Carol and I have talked about it, so I won't say we have a plan, but we would love to reach out and help those rural libraries do this kind of report because I know that they have a lot of books that will fall into this category. So anyway, just to say, we have this, we've got the template, we'll go through it just like we will in our inventory process and create that report for you. I don't know if you have any questions about that. We haven't had a whole lot of guidance. I talked to the director. So this library went out to every single, or this letter went out to every single library in the state. They all got the same letter. I talked to the Williamson County librarian, the Brentwood City librarian. I've talked to a lot of the other directors across the state. Which is, I think, why we've got the template. We kind of have a, way to move forward with it. So I don't foresee it causing really too much trouble. Inventory is trouble, I'll tell you that.
Always.
Yes.
And you got a lot of material.
We do. We have a lot of material. Ooh, we do. It's a lot of it, but it's a lot. So anyway, I just wanted to draw your attention to that letter and let you know that, yes, we've got a template, we've got a plan. We're kind of putting it in with our inventory. And that's how we're going to move forward. Do you have any questions about it, about the letter, or anything else?
Thank you for all the outreach to the other libraries, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel here.
Yeah.
Thanks for your help with everything.
And our branches aren't here, but I do want to say that Jolene Farley, our very own Monterey branch librarian, is going to be the, what do they call it? It's for the Grand Marshal. The Grand Marshal of the Christmas parade in Monterey. So I'm so excited for her. That's going to be fabulous. They wanted to give her a shout out for being, such a community partner, and I'm really honored.
She has a larger-than-life personality.
I know. I told her, I was like, I couldn't have chosen a better person. You're fabulous. So we're really excited about that. But that's it. That's really all I've got for my, that was a lot. So.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Catherine mentioned the letter. I've been speaking of the last week with all of my library directors, who are all receiving very similar copies of the same letter, and advising them on the same thing about what we do know is that we will have a template made available to everybody as soon as possible, And at some point, hopefully this week, the state librarian, Jamie Ritter, will be hosting some town hall calls for all library directors across the state in case there are any questions, just so that we can provide any additional guidance that anybody needs. So that's what we know about that. The only other thing, I did provide my report here for you as well. We have some training opportunities coming up, including one this Thursday at the Art Circle Library in Crossville. We'll be working with some of our fellow regions, two of our other regions, to put on a generational fluency, multi-generation communication workshop. We're excited about that. We've got quite a few people lined up to attend. And coming up December 9th, we'll be having a library worker essentials, just for some basic library worker information. Claire Broyles, my assistant director, put together a little workshop just for all staff levels. So we're excited about piloting that and seeing how it goes. Otherwise, if you think of anything or have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I've put our holiday hours on this brochure as well. So if anybody has any questions, that's all I have for you today.
If you don't know me, day off.
I told Harry I didn't know if I should sit here or public comment.
Any friends?
They did not give me a report today. They did, oh wait, if anyone wants to report, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know I am. I'm sorry.
Well, I will just say, we are about to start a membership campaign, so if anybody in the room is not a member of the Friends group and love the library like we do, then I would encourage you to begin.
We love our friends. We can do it without.
I just want to say hello to our chair emeritus over there.
Yeah.
I think that's everything. Is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. All right. 5:47.
Yes, please, if you don't mind.
Yes.
I hope, yeah. I'll just stay.